If we turn our backs and spit in his face, is God still gonna bless the USA?
When the pirates roamed the seas between the southern states and the Spanish Main, the brig Nancy was pursued by the British warship Sparrow. She was suspected of engaging in illicit trade and piracy, but when captured, not a scrap of incriminating evidence could be found among her papers. However, the question was referred to the authorities at Kingston, Jamaica, into which port she was brought. Meanwhile, the HMS Abergavenny had been cruising the same waters as the Nancy off the coast of Haiti. The crew harpooned a shark and found papers tied around with a string inside. This parcel was found to relate to the activities of a ship called the Nancy, and thinking they might serve a useful purpose, Lieutenant Michael Fitton preserved them till they could reach Kingston, their next port of call. They arrived there just as the case of the Nancy came before the courts. We can imagine the crew's dismay when, jubilant at the prospect of release, they were suddenly confronted with their misdeeds in the papers which they'd thrown overboard when pursued by the warship. Greetings, patriots. I'm Perry Green. This is God in America. Last month, I attended the Lion's Den meeting in Yukon, Oklahoma. State Representative Jim Shaw, who should be referred to as the corruption detector, spoke and revealed some of the fraud and waste at our most red state in the Union, state capital. Please hear my sarcasm. Shaw is not the only whistleblower at the State House, but he is on a mission to inform citizens of what is happening, so we will pressure our legislature to clean up their act. Oklahomans, by and large, are conservative, but our representatives and senators are no longer accountable to the people. They sell their votes to the lobbyists and are no better than the prostitutes General Hooker brought in for his troops when the Union Army occupied Nashville. They are selling a different service than Hooker's girls. During the presentation, Mr. Shaw made it clear that he would not compromise his principles and make deals that violate his integrity. He said he was willing to stand alone rather than go along to get along with the daily compromises the conservatives were making with the pro-Marxist Democrats. This reminds me of a pertinent point made by John Quincy Adams. He said, always vote for principle, though you may vote alone and you may cherish the sweetest reflection that your vote is never lost. My grandsons would disagree, but I was not there at the founding of our country. I do not know if our forefathers and mothers were genuine or not. They may have had enough Bible knowledge to portray a phony biblical worldview, or they may have been sincere in their faith. From their writings, I see their firm reliance on divine providence as they armed for conflict. They spoke of God's care in glowing terms after the war as well. They enforced colonial and state mandates that their elected officials were to acknowledge Christ. They wanted the people, and especially their leaders, to be moral and religious. As President John Adams said, our Constitution is unfit for any other people. I'd say we're proving his accuracy. Shortly after establishing the United States, opposing spiritual forces began eroding its foundation. In the 1960s, we lost our country. The John Kennedy assassination was an inside job. The Supreme Court betrayed us by removing prayer and the Bible from the classroom and public arenas. Through the post-World War II Operation Paperclip, we brought Nazi war criminals into high positions in our government and certain agencies. Werner von Braun was not just a Nazi, he was an SS officer. We put him in charge of NASA because of his skills as a rocket scientist so that we could dominate the space race. Now our federal government is under the control of deep state operatives, and we experience mostly peaceful protests resulting in monumental reconstruction for larger cities. All the evil pieces are falling into place, and the puzzle is becoming clear. The pro-Marxists have taken over our education, health services, the mainstream media, communications, food industry, and even most American churches. As we look back on our history, we see the glory days and our downfall. We've come to the precipice. Donald Trump is a mix of good and bad, like the rest of us. I'm glad he's our current president, but he cannot save America. Only God working through we the people can make that happen. We must resist the tyrannical corruption we call government. In 2 Corinthians 6, 1 and 2, the Apostle Paul wrote, "We then, as workers together with him, also plead with you not to receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, in an acceptable time I have heard you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. God has been gracious to America, and we've been living off the blessings of our ancestors. God's tolerance is winding down. It is now the time, as Steve Bannon has said, to expose and replace the corrupt. We must wake up to what our elected officials say as opposed to what they do. If they lie to us, we must hold them accountable by not reelecting them. If they are forthright, we must support them. As Benjamin Franklin said, well done is better than well said. Thanks for being with us today. Please like, share, subscribe to, and share our podcasts. Until next time, let's keep the light of government accountability burning.